Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarre YouTube page. Tonight's movie is 1969's The Girl from Rio by Jess Franco. The Girl from Rio, a film by Jess Franco, right here, folks. And it states on the back, a carnival of sex and violence from the director of Vampiros, Lesbos, and Eugenie. This is put out by Blue Underground. And this was actually put out some years ago, 2004. So this has been out for quite some time. You can get this for a pretty good price everywhere. Um, I believe rumor has it that Blue Underground's going to be putting this out on Blu-ray at some point in the near future. The Girl from Rio. Whew, wow, what a wild movie. Look at that cover. Freaking awesome cover. And then you got in the back here, you got some more stuff right there. Gotta tell you, this movie, it really does take place in Brazil. I mean, this film was shot in Brazil, and boy, does Franco utilize the atmosphere of Brazil. He's just getting amazing shots. As you know, the director Jess Franco, he will focus on the female form, but he also constantly focuses on the natural environment, from nature itself to sunsets, sunrises, animals, bodies of water, the sand, the beach, all of that. And in for Brazil, boy, does Franco have so much to look at, and he does. It's a mountainous region. The sunset, the water, uh, and 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 he has unbelievable sets. They're not sets. That would be a normal director. He has unbelievable locations. My gosh, once again, the wealthiest of locations for films that are not high budget. Way to go, Franco. Unbelievable settings. I mean, there's this one pool that is high up and overlooks the mountains of Brazil. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Just really lavish locations. He also has a lot of um, just amazing environments in this film to film in. Now there seem to be some sets in this film because honestly, I mean they'd have to be. um, just some really wild glass cases, filled with people, and I mean he's doing like unbelievable things with lighting in this film too that almost reminded me a little bit of Blue Rita. Um, I mean, I gotta tell you also, some of the most unbelievable scenes utilizing fog that I've ever seen in a film before. I mean, he is utilizing fog to the most atmospheric, coolest possible ways ever in this film. He's also doing a lot of reverse zoom shots in this film and also regular zoom shots. And he's also doing some awesome things once again with mirrors. But in this movie, it almost seems sometimes that you don't even know you're looking through a mirror until he does the reverse zoom shot, and all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, I didn't even know I was looking in a mirror. And he also likes to utilize reflections through glass doors, glass panes, where reflections kind of overlap over other reflections or over a person looking out of the glass door and the reflections overlapping on top of their face. So he's doing wild stuff like that. He has this amazing shot in the latter portion of the film too, where he's like kind of shooting through a woman's thighs, like through her legs out. He's done that kind of stuff before in other films, and I love those shots. Now this is a '60s film, okay? So that some of his '60s films like Two Undercover Angels, Kiss Me Monster. Um, you know the '60s vibe. If you know the '60s vibes of his films, I have those reviews up on this YouTube page. You can go check them out. This film is really not like those films. Those films really kind of had the spy caper fun vibe going on, whereas this film is really darker and more sexual and more surreal and more bizarre. Um, I mean, it really has it's a whole nother beast. I mean, this one is darker. This one's definitely darker. It still has the playfulness of some of his '60s films that's still in there with various characters, but overall, the film is definitely has a darker sense and definitely a much more erotic sexual sense as well. Um, the music in this film is done by Daniel White, as it says in the opening credits, who also did the music for Cecilia, which I recently reviewed. And boy, the music couldn't be different from Cecilia. The music in this film is unbelievable. That's all I kept thinking throughout the entire film. Every piece of music is unbelievable in this movie. I mean, just think, kind of the hand percussion of the '60s, awesome bohemian bachelor pad music that you would hear, with awesome kind of ethnic vibes to it. Almost some of the stuff sounds like the Beastie Boys stuff when they would just do the instrumental music. And just, it has that cool, retro '60s vibe with a lot of atmosphere in it as well. There's also some amazing sounds in this film, some amazing futuristic, electronic, bizarre soundscapes that give you some really weird atmosphere that goes on and on and on in whole scenes. There's also a title track to this film. Not all his films have like a title track. The Girl from Rio. It's actually being sung. Because you have like the title track in his film 99 Women, which I'll review in the future. So you have that kind of stuff. But there is a title track, which is really cool too, really '60s, sung by a woman, awesome stuff. Amazing music in this film. It really has so many different vibes and so much atmosphere, and it's very layered and it's very diverse and it's very experimental, but at the same time, it's very cool. Like somebody from the '60s would think the music was just really awesome, something you would hear at like a party, somebody playing it on a record player, that kind of deal. This particular film, it has some pretty violent. Some pretty violent pieces, violent toward women. In particular, one scene, Maria Rome is in this film. Rom is in this film, however you pronounce it, who was also in Venus and Furs. You know her from there. And she's sporting a black wig in this film. And boy, does she have a violent scene in this film. Not gory, but violent, involving drowning and punching and kicking. Man, it's some crazy stuff. And there's also, torture, but in very, very futuristic, bizarre ways. This film is really bizarre. It has a very bizarre, surreal plot to it, involving an all-female, like, planet kind of vibe, also mixed with a crime film. It's a crime meets like a futuristic world of bizarre scapes. I mean, we have weird drugs, and we have weird women, the most amazing costumes you've ever seen. They're just really bizarre, sexual, awesome costumes. Lots of women, because there's an entire planet filled with women. The women are '60s, the women are attractive. Lots of stomachs. In this particular film, it's definitely his most sexual '60s film that I've seen so far. Where there's mostly topless nudity, but there is a scene of like bottomless nudity. There are no sex scenes. The nudity is really non-sexual, but the nudity is there. And there's also mostly outfits that reveal nudity. So it's not anything that's like, overly explicit at all, but it's very erotic, very sexual in just the revealings of the outfits and how the outfits reveal the female body in this particular film. This movie is really quite wild. There's action sequences, there's fighting sequences, there's gunplay, and like I said, there are torture sequences in this futuristic all-female world. There are machine guns, there's helicopters, there's a whole planet exploding. There's just wild stuff going on, and there are some things that are just really bizarre. And the characters are really cool in this film. You have a lot of different things going on. You even see real parties. There's footage of real parties in Brazil, and it looks like they were actually there. There's some footage of that later on in the film. There are twists and turns in this film as well, of course, where you find out about various characters. And it's really, really just a wild film. This is The Girl from Rio. It's a darn wild film, and I gotta tell you, the beginning of this movie, Jess Franco's beginnings of his films, they just start. You know how they just start? The beginning of this film is so badass. It's so surreal. It's so weird. It's so, um, you know, bizarre and retro and filled with atmosphere. You don't know what the hell's going on. Totally Jess Franco. As soon as you push play on this film, you know you are watching a Jess Franco film. Um, this is The Girl from Rio, folks. This is awesome. 1969. Um, there it is, folks. 1969. I think he made multiple films this year. He might have done all those other ones, the two Undercover Angels and everything else. This one is definitely the wildest of his 60s films that I've seen. Here it is, folks. The Girl from Rio. You can pick it up by Blue Underground, and I think they got a Blu-ray coming out as well. But the transfer on here is freaking awesome, and they got other interviews and stuff too. Weirdly enough, on one of my Blu-ray players, this one won't play, but I don't know what that means exactly, folks. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page. Please make sure to check out all my other Jess Franco reviews. There are many, many, many more coming, so get ready. And other reviews of films on this YouTube page also, from just sexploitation to sex comedies from the 70s and 80s to just weird, bizarre films to horror films, underground films, all films I believe that are not being talked about enough. They're going to be on this page with the core of a lot of Jess Franco, because I'm a huge Jess Franco fan. Folks, also, check out my own personal films, youtube.com/poopy diarrhea. Thank you so much. The Girl from Rio. Good night.